Hello, folks. I'm Dean Curry, live here. It's a beautiful day out today, absolutely beautiful day. Today, we're going to talk about carbohydrates. It's somewhat of a controversial subject, not not among certain people I know, but more out in the open public about carbohydrates and the limitations of carbohydrates when dieting, and it's all over the internet, it's all over the TV, and there's a lot of people walking around here today, I could see. Good, God bless them. But you know, I feel a need to make this video because when it comes to carbohydrates, a lot of people actually limit them in dieting, and this is very common because I guess the myth or the thought process, if you will, that people come up with is that if you limit carbohydrates when dieting, that it will actually take more from your fat. And the funny thing about that statement, and I kind of call it a myth because it's what I call one-dimensional thinking. With all due respect, it's actually true that if you limit the carbohydrate intake, it will take away from fat. Although there is some truth to that, and a lot of people actually do that when dieting, and they think about it in a one-dimensional context. If you think about it on a whole, it's actually not a philosophy that I would actually speak very proudly of or substantiate in any way. The reason that is because when you limit carbohydrates, especially when you are dieting and exercising, because a lot of people exercise when dieting, and it starts to become more sports nutrition, you have to be really careful of limiting carbohydrates, because what that does is it limits your ability to synthesize carbohydrates into glycogen, and you need glycogen in order to synthesize protein. And your protein intake, basically synthesize, I mean absorption. You have to have the proper absorption of protein into your body so your body and your muscles from working out can actually recuperate and regenerate and restore. And if you limit your carbohydrates because you want to lose weight, that synthesis basically, I wouldn't say won't happen, but it'll be severely limited. So in essence, your body is not restoring, your muscles are not restoring, and it's a pretty good way to get injured because your muscles are not restored for the next workout. So you need carbohydrates in your body, and it's essential for protein synthesis. And you really don't want to limit carbohydrates to take from fat either, because fat actually helps you absorb things like, I don't know, vitamin D, which you basically need for bone formation and strengthen your bones. So to limit, fat, to limit carbohydrates and take from fat, you're not going to have the fat that's needed to absorb certain vitamins in your body, especially vitamin D. So in one context, you may be losing weight, but ask yourself this question: what is the point of losing weight if you're actually going to be harming your body in some other way? The whole idea is to do it in a way that's healthy and in a way that actually helps. So another possible way that you can take in carbohydrates is by understanding which carbohydrates are lighter and which carbohydrates are heavier. If you're talking about starches and sugars and processed sugars and syrups and things of that nature, white potatoes versus sweet potatoes, or white rice versus let's say, brown rice or dessert foods such as any type of dessert, donuts, cake, pie. Also, white bread versus whole grain wheat bread would fall under heavier starches. And, those are the things you really want to more or less stay away from when you diet. And instead, you should stay with lighter carbs, which would be more vegetables, a lot of fruits and vegetables, whether it be oranges or, vegetables. It could be string beans, it could be peas, it could be carrots, apples have great fiber, and there's sugar in those things, but they're lighter carbs, and the body has an easier way of basically more or less breaking it down. So you should stay with the vegetable family, the fruit family. Most fruits and vegetables are broken down in a fairly easy way, go with sweet potatoes versus white potatoes, or brown rice versus white rice, whole grain bread versus wheat bread versus white bread. You probably should stay away from desserts. I really don't like to tell people to altogether stop, eating desserts. Life is meant to be enjoyed, but you limit them. Maybe have them a little earlier in the day versus dessert late in the day. Or if you have a dessert late at night, you have like a piece, or you have like a scoop of a dessert versus what you would normally have for dessert if it was earlier in the day, because it's just going to sit in your stomach. And you basically just have to become a manager, of what you eat. And, so it isn't really about not eating potatoes. It's about eating the right potatoes. It's not so much about not eating bread. It's about eating the right bread, which is brown, not white bread. White bread. And, it's not about eating rice, which could be a brown rice versus white rice. And these are the things that, you should be aware of for the most part. And, it's very, very, important to do these things. As far as pasta, you could always try to go with a spinach pasta versus something else. But, they put so little spinach in a spinach pasta. It's really not a big difference. Pasta altogether isn't great when dieting. I wouldn't say you can't eat it, but it needs to be ridiculously limited. But you could take a zucchini and get a zucchini slicer, which slices up your zucchini like spaghetti. And, there's other vegetables you could do that with. And, it pretty much tastes like pasta, So these are like little alternative ways you could do. But the most important thing is lighter carbs versus heavier carbs, not the elimination of carbohydrates, because you need it for protein synthesis, and you also need it for you need your fat for the absorption of certain vitamins, which I mentioned. Vitamin D is essential for rebirth and regrowth and restoring the muscles and bones. And most people, when they diet, do it with some form of exercise. So it's very important that you understand and, pump the brakes a little bit on, fad diets and things like that severely limit the carbohydrate intake, because, according to everyday health, carbohydrate consumption is essential when dieting for vitamins and mineral growth. And the University of Texas also spoke about, the importance of carbohydrates when dieting. And it is not actually the carbohydrates that are necessarily the problem, but when dieting, but it is the overall calorie intake that you should be focused on, and you could, manage that with lighter carbohydrates versus heavier carbohydrates, and the lighter carbohydrates will actually limit your overall calorie intake, and that would be certainly a more intelligent, multi-dimensional approach to carbohydrate intake when dieting. So I'm Dean Curry. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a beautiful day out here. It's a beautiful day to get in shape. Yes, you can get in shape. And I'm very excited to make more of these videos and lose weight and feel healthy with massage guidance too on all of my channels. One being Rising Star Enterprises for Well-Being. That's our YouTube channel. Our website is www.risingstarenterprises.com. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, have a great day and a better tomorrow.